to the BAM Pod.
Hey folks, Randall and I want to talk to you real quick about choosing the right electronics mount for your bass boat.
Mark and I have been partnered with Bass Boat Technologies from the very beginning, and we know the quality and effort that BAM Foster has put into this company.
Custom, that's the one thing that I think about whenever I think of Bass Boat Technologies. Van Foster has spent years, not hours, years perfecting these mounts. He works with just about every bass boat company out there, most models for every bass boat company out there. He has spent the time working on these bass boats. So what you get is a custom fitted mount, not some mass produced universal mount for every bass boat out there. Van makes them custom fit for your bass boat.
Bass Boat Technologies also makes a lot of other custom parts. Seat pedestal plugs, tool holders, steering wheel spacers, and battery trays are all made with the same attention to detail that Bass Boat Technologies is known for.
Bass Boat Technologies is a vital part of our livelihood, and it's very important to your overall boating experience also.
Absolutely, and that's why we choose Bass Boat Technologies. Check them out at bassboattech.com. You'll be glad you did.
All right, everybody, welcome on into the BAM Pod. I'm your host, Big Ed, and on the line tonight, I have got the young man that just went out to Clearlake and took it all on and came back as the champion of the BAM Trail Super 60 2025. Welcome in, everybody, Mr. Mason Mcabee. Mason, welcome to the show, man.
Sweet. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. This is our pleasure to have you on, talk about this whole thing. Man, you just went out there, battled all year long, make it to the championship weekend, fight even harder, make it to championship Sunday, beat out a bunch of big names, did something that I know you didn't mean to do, but you know what? You did it, and the other guys did it before you. But you made Ty Manarola second place again. You know, that was a heck of a show you put on. What, 20? You had 27 pounds 3 days in a row, led this thing wire to wire, took it all, man. Did you expect going into this that you had that kind of good fish going?
No, I went out and caught what bit. I didn't think the weights were going to be that high after seeing weights from other tournaments being posted and stuff like that. I thought it was going to take about 20 a day. But honestly, the average wasn't very high for, the field, the weights. So it was pretty crazy for me to weigh 27 3 days in a row.
Yeah, but you did it in impressive fashion, man. I mean, that was impressive to just watch how those things were coming up there. I mean, Austin Bonjour jumped up there and dropped a 29 on there, and that was amazing to see. But you were just so consistent. I want to talk a little bit about that, that part of it. Were you on one spot? Were you running all over the place? What was it that you kind of did to get in on those kind of fish?
I had a pretty big milk run. Went into it. Pretty much, I've been fishing Clearlake since I was about 4 or 5 years old, fishing team tournaments with my dad. And it was always the TOC at the end of the year for ABA. And so every time I've been to Clearlake, the majority of my life has been September, October, November. So I just went into it, trying not to step on my dad's feet and on his waters too much. But, that's what I know best. And, so I had a pretty big milk run with some stuff that I had found too throughout the years of just fishing there in the spring and the fall. But I had a pretty decent idea on how they were going to be, not how they were going to be set up, but, kind of what they were going to be doing. And all you got to really figure out is if they're going from fall to winter or summer to fall. And it really seemed like they were going from fall to winter, and we had a couple too many warm days, I feel like, that kept them up there in that fall feeding. But a lot of the spots I was rotating were all, pretty big community holes in the wintertime.
All right. Well, this thing is over. You said you have nothing really going on up there. Let's break down, what was your bait of choice and what were you kind of targeting altogether to get that kind of fish?
Going into it, it was going to be just a crankbait and a swim bait, and the key going into it for me was going to be trying to find bait. That's usually a big player in the fall, finding shad, but primarily I was trying to find the hitch,
Okay.
running around looking for hitch balls and stuff like that. And I really didn't see anything that was very definitely hitch. I mean, might have been a couple schools that swam in that I could see on my active target, but really couldn't tell what they were doing. They weren't acting too much like them. So, really the swim bait went out of play really quick. And I kept it on the deck, kept it honest, but it didn't play like I thought it was going to. And so from probably the first half or the second half of the first day throughout the tournament, my main player was a Strike King 6XD and
Oh, wow.
a minnow.
Okay, so you were going trying to get down there a little deeper and get those fish. What depth were you looking at?
Cranking them, I was getting them from. I had a couple spots up in like the shallow ones were like 18 that I was catching them out of, but the
Wow.
majority of the fish I was catching were 18 to 25 foot.
Okay, so were you focused on like grass lines, rock piles, pillar old pilings, or anything like that? Or just flat bottoms, or did it just not
Um,
matter and you were just looking for the shad or looking for
rock
the
pile,
bait?
rock piles and points mainly.
Okay,
Had to have rock on it. But there's a lot of different things on points there. I mean, it's a natural lake, so it's got some crazy stuff under the water. It's got trees that nobody's seen. It's got stuff that's sank over the years. So, I mean, at one spot you could be hitting a rock pile. The next spot you could be hitting an old sunken boat. The next spot you're hitting a tree that somebody drug out there and dropped or somehow fell off the bank. I don't know how they get there, but
yeah, huh. That's interesting, and it's just so you're just looking for any structure out there. So are you basically this time of year with the fall to winter transition going on like that? Are these bass sitting still? Are they following the shad, or are they kind of just waiting for it to come through an area and ambushing? I
no,
guess.
they're moving a lot.
Okay.
At least the ones that I was fishing for. I mean, it was a very, very big timing thing, and with no practice, you don't know the timing.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
I mean, that's the $1 million question. If you can figure that out with practice, I mean, you'll be pretty hard to beat. So, um, it was pretty much just run around as many spots in a day as I could. Try not to get too locked into one spot, and just be there when the shad pulled up and when the fish pulled up.
Okay. So yeah. I mean, you said it was a lot of timing. That's some pretty specific timing right there. You got to have a lot of patience and a lot of faith that the areas you're picking, those fish are gonna those fish are gonna come through about that time, especially like you said with no practice. And I think that 30-day off limits thing is such a just a game changer, but an equalizer at the same time, right? I mean, everybody's got the same exact you know thing to deal with, problems to deal with.
I love it. I love the 30-day off limits. I mean, the fish don't get pressure. There's no pressure on us to find them. I mean, there is pressure going into the tournament, but it's not. Is my bite going to stay? Is it this? Is that? I mean, it's going out there. You just got to figure out that day, and that's why so many people catch them in practice and then don't catch them in the tournament because they get so locked into the practice instead of just going out and fishing the day. And I'm 100% like product of that. I've fished many of tournaments where I went out and fished just like I did in practice, and
Mm.
it didn't work out. And then you come back as the practice hero, but with this no practice and 30 days off limits, man, you just have to take the day as it comes, and weather changes, fish moving, stuff like that. We had a pretty big weather change, so I adapted this the third day, and I don't know if I would have been able to do it if I did have practice.
Yeah, that was one of my next questions I was going to ask you is how the weather affected the entire thing because it was, I mean, from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there was a mood swing in the old climate. you know, it
Yeah,
it uh it went from basically just a decent day out there to had a fog delay on the second day. We had to push it back almost 2 hours. They get out there, you get out there and you got to hope. And, talk a little bit about that part too. And then Sunday, we're just rain. It's like, I don't know how much it rained out there on you guys, but it rained, it did, and it held off, and then all of a sudden rained, and it was like for us to just clean up was all in rain. But I want to talk a little bit about that fog delay too. That's an hour and a half. How did that affect you mentally? Like, man, I got to get out there. I got to get out there. I got to get out there. Or were you just like, you know what? I'll just go to a spot, and if they're there, they're there, and if they're not, they're not.
It was a lot of that. I mean, it was day one is always your practice day, and
Hmm.
I found a spot where I'd seen about a school of about 15 or 20 fish, all on scope. They all look like they were 3 to 10 pounds, and so I was going to start there. So the fog
Wow.
delay. I mean, I was just thinking about getting to that spot, and of course, it's the one of the farthest spots. So I mean, I got to run 28 miles an hour through the fog, trying not to run into the bank, trying to watch my speed, watch my graph, watch for people, and it was that was the most nerve wracking. I mean, it's just scary running through fog blind like that. I wasn't too worried about catching fish. I was worried about you know just getting
Catch.
in a crash out there in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, that ruins your whole tournament right there if that happens. But with that, Michael made the decision and said, "Hey, you know what? You can run 30, 35, and that's it. That's all we're doing this far off the bank and that sort of thing." Did that seem to maybe alleviate some of that for you, the fact that most of the guys were not supposed to be out there running wide open like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good call. I mean, we were going to sit there for a long time.
Right.
Um, I mean, I don't know when the fog lifted in the north, but I know down south it took a while to lift,
Hmm.
and I it was nice. I mean, I honestly when we took off, I had a guy following me and a guy in front of me, and then about halfway down the lake, one guy pulled off on a spot, and then next thing you know, I have no idea where anybody is, and then people just started peeling off, and it was just like, all right, I'm going to take this turn slow. We're going to see what happens,
Yeah.
and but honestly, the second day, it felt like the longest out of all three, even though we had an hour and a half off. It just felt like I don't know. The wind didn't blow.
Yeah.
It was kind of hot and stagnant. It just that was the one that was the real tester, like the tester of my mind. I did not know that I was going to need 3 pounds to make the top 10. I thought for sure I was going to have to drop another 20 bag. So I was out there. That was the most stressful day for me, just because I've I've been in all four of the main year tournaments. I had a chance to make top 10, and I would spin myself out, or just make a bad decision, just be just out of it in all four of them. And this one was just like I'm gonna put the hammer down. I don't care, if I ruin all my spots. I just want to make one top 10 this year.
Yeah.
And so that was the most stressful thing. It wasn't so much the running out of time. It was I got to catch them.
Well, definitely, putting your head down and doing it, because this was the top 10 to make. This was the event to actually win, and you did a great job of doing that. Did you learn? I mean, when you go out and you're competing in the Super 60, I mean, you're competing against some really good anglers out there. And when you're on championships, on championship weekend and then championship Sunday, you are fishing against the cream of the crop. I mean, the guys who rose all year long and went out there. Did it really teach you anything going into this tournament about exactly what you're talking about right there? This is the mental game that I have to play. I mean, we play a game on the BAM trail that's so much different than any other circuit out there. The whole keeper count deal on one side, the weight on the other side, and then it all goes to zero on championship Sunday. And it's everybody's game out there. I mean, you were you were going against some really good guys. How much learning experience did you really get out of this event being championship weekend?
Tackle Warehouse has been the premier online tackle shop since 2003, with a huge selection of not only the latest and greatest from the biggest brands, but the hard-to-find regional specialties as well. Tackle Warehouse. Click, save, fish.
It was a big learning experience. I mean, learned a lot about the lake that I grew up fishing. Learned a lot about myself. And honestly, what Gerald Swindle always says, and I think he has a clothing company with it on him, is the positive mental attitude. Um, you know, I usually get pretty mad if they're not biting, and this week I kind of just put my AirPod in, put some reggae on, and it was just like you just got to chill and just you're fishing against yourself because there if I start thinking about the stats that are in the field, let alone the top 10 field. I mean, you got Bryant Smith, U.S. Open champion, BAM Pro Tour champion, lead holds the overall record for Bassmasters smallmouth limit, almost 30 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got my dad, Randy Mcabee, won 7 boats on Clearlake, all in November. I mean, and then all the guys, they're just unbelievable. Austin Monjour tied 4 seconds in a row. He's due for a win.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was pretty much if I started thinking about that, I'd really get scared. So I just went out there and I was fishing against myself and just.
Oh yeah.
It was keeping a positively talking to yourself throughout the day. I think helped me just because I knew that going into the day, you always tell yourself they're going to pull up at one point today. But when you're out there, it really doesn't feel like that after you hit the spot for the third time and they're not there.
Right.
But that fourth time was the time.
Yeah, I mean I give you a lot of props on that. That's a lot of patience. That's a lot of dedication and knowing that or just maybe not knowing. I guess that's a bad word to use, but to use to really just have that faith that they're they're gonna be here. They're gonna come through. I know they're gonna be here. That just says a lot. I mean, and to what you just said, you have a bunch of people right there. Yeah, I mean this is a stacked field. It's not these are no slouches. Some of these guys have been to Bassmasters Classic. Some of these guys have been through the wars of back east. They've fought and fought and fought, and then they come back out here and they drop a lot of weight. I mean, your dad included, is with the amount of the amount of times he's won on that body of water is just it's just crazy. And I was gonna save that for a little bit later, but I do want to talk to you a little bit about that. I had the last day, we get to stage it a little bit and who's going to come up and how they're going to come up. We had a good, notion of what you had in that bag, and we had an idea where you were going to be. So you were going to be last. And that meant that your dad was going to come across that stage first before you. I shouldn't say first, but before you. And I have this moment where I have to make a decision on whether or not I push him hard enough to just have him fully break down on the stage or let him do it himself. And he kind of did it himself, but to see how proud he was of you, hey, he didn't make the cut. He wasn't going to, knock the guy off of the hot seat. He wasn't going to do it. It didn't really even seem to faze him. Didn't seem to bother him anything. He knew what you were doing back there. He knew how you were going to come up, and it just in his heart, I think he knew that you were going to take this whole thing home, and the emotions running through him right at that point, man. How did that make you feel sitting back there? I don't even know if you could see it or watch it or whatever, but he's coming across that stage. He's talking about it a little bit, and he was choked up, man. He knew what was coming. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I I watched it, and when he did that, then the emotions really started to flow for me because I was like, I might have a shot, um, because I have some of the best anglers in the West in front of me. I got past one with him weighing, and it was something special, man. It was crazy to see.
It was awesome for us to be able to let him, present that trophy. Um, that was to have a father son like that up there on the stage doing the whole thing, and a guy who just just goes out, leads from day one. Day two comes up, drops another giant bag. Then that third day, I mean, don't get me wrong, Ty dropped 24 pounds on that scale. He's sitting there, it's two guys, man, and it's like, man, you've got to drop over 24 pounds, and you dropped to 27. It was like, this is just crazy to watch, crazy to be a part of, crazy to see. um yeah, that was impressive to watch that whole event. Kind of the way it folded, unfolded. And I will say this, all these guys, these veterans you talked about, I don't want to say old guys, but the veterans that were on that tour, they have got to be looking out, because last year Luke Johns takes it home. This year Mason Mcabee takes it home. Um, Ty Manarola, who's, I think he's still a little younger than you. He's like one of the youngest guys we got on the tour, and he is there all the time. Now, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I mean, Greg Gutierrez, he's still up there taking them, and Ken Maw, when he shows up every once in a while, he takes them too. They still have it in them to do it. But you young guys, man, you've got it going on. And I don't want to say, a lot of guys, oh, they just know forward facing. And it's like, you can take that for what you want, but there's skill involved beyond the whole forward facing. And everybody's catching up pretty good with that forward facing sonar stuff. So I feel like that's not it. You guys have got some talent, and it's amazing to watch and amazing to see. And, I mean, where's your future going from here? What are you looking at, and what's your eyes on?
Well, the plan when I was 16 was to be fishing by now, but life gets you, and I didn't want to go to college, so I went straight to work. And honestly, BAM made it you know, pretty engaging to stay on the West, because I was going to try to fish, some kind of circuit back east to make it to where I could fish for a living. And then the BAM came, and you know, I'll probably eventually try to go out there, but the money is just outrageous, dude. I mean,
Right.
the payouts aren't there, and then the entry fees are there, like they're just insane. And we have enough tournaments out here for me to feel like I got something to do every month. And I don't know. Right now, I think I'm going to stay out here for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there is now. I mean, there's money to be made here now. Um, and I never. It's not that he ever passes by, but it's understated. One of our younger anglers as well, took home Angler of the Year this year. Tyler Madden did a heck of a job right there, and we can talk about. He's doing that thing where he's back at, I think he's University of Auburn, and he's back there, fishing all over the place, and still comes out here, still just wrecks it out here, does a great job. You young guys you're eating it up, man, and it's. I mean, I see the way the pro-ams are right now. Next year's pro-ams are going to be absolutely amazing, and the Super 60 on top of that. I mean, you're in now with, like I said, you're up there right there where, $50,000 per, to make. If you can win just a couple of them, I mean, you're making decent money just fishing, and you're not traveling, and you're not, paying all the expenses of going across the country. I mean, you got to give it up a little bit to BAM. They have made it an opportunity to come out here and make some really good money, and
Yeah,
have a living, and say that you're a professional angler on the West Coast.
yeah. No, it's 100%. And good job to Ty Madden. Dude, that was insane. I didn't know it was going to take four top tens to make it AOI. I mean, that's consistency right there.
That is.
That's I don't know. I think he's younger than me too, isn't he?
I think he is too. I want to say he's 20. I think he's 22, and I think both him and I know they're really close right there. Tyler Madden and Ty Manarola are both right in that 2022 era. Then that somewhere right in there, and it's like, wow. I mean, you're 23 years old. Let's not talk about you like you're an ancient fella here.
I feel like it.
I know, right? But I mean, the class that you guys are bringing, And I want to, and I want to say right out the bat with all three of those gentlemen that I just mentioned, you included especially in there, the way that you guys speak, the way you present yourself, the way that you talk about the sport of fishing and everything else. It's a breath of fresh air to hear it. I mean, it is 100% dedication. It is a focus on a career, and I think having a career out here on the West Coast is something that I don't think, like when I was growing up, I didn't even know bass fishing existed like that, and then in a tournament circuit where I probably wouldn't have made it through high school at all if I'd have known I had to go back east to fish. Um, it's
Yeah.
crazy, but to see it here on the West Coast with starting off in high school and then going to college, and we're giving away college scholarships. Simpson College has stepped up big time out here and given away some really good scholarships. There's other schools that are out there that can do it. And anybody listening right now, if you're starting as a high school kid and you can get yourself on a bass fishing team and that's something that you truly love, you can pay your way through college with a scholarship if you can get out there and fish well and do it and get on a college team. So, and then make your way on up and be fishing for a living. I mean, that's crazy to think of right now, but I mean, you went out there, Mason, and you just did an amazing job on Clear Lake. I mean, and this is something like you said, you grew in fishing that lake since you were 4 years old with your dad. Um, how hard is it? Because I heard guys talking on that stage. How hard is it to not fish nostalgia? Hey, I know this spot used to, I caught one here, 13 years ago, on this thing and
Yeah.
that thing.
It's hard to not do it, but I think you can do it as long as, everything's right. Because I think people just roll up to spots and they're like, I caught one here, but they didn't really pay attention to water clarity, water temperature, time of year, baits, presentations, mood of the fish, all that. I mean, if you roll up to a spot and you caught a lot of fish there in the past and it looks right and the bait's there, I mean, you're probably going to catch them again because a lot of these spots that are especially community holes, they're pretty much just stopping points to go to places. Whether it's springtime, they're going in, stopping on places to go into spawn. They're pretty much just all freeways. It's like we use it's the 5 and the 99. You just got to find them somewhere on there where they stop to get something to for lunch. Um, as far as nostalgia, I fished a lot of like places that me and my dad have done really good at. My dad's done amazing at. Um, I fished a lot of them. I found some new stuff, like some spot within the spot stuff,
Right.
where you talk about a point, but you can't cover an entire point in one angle or one cast. There's 50 different angles, 50 different casts. You can make 100 casts on one point and never hit the same rock, especially at this place.
Right.
And so with live scope, like you were saying, I mean, how good it's gotten, I can tell what's down there. I can really tell the difference between, rock, trees. Um, Dude, I found a pole that fell off of it was one of the shoal poles
Wow.
that shows you like don't run over this big rock pile that's under the water. And it was 45 off the rock pile, and there was five, I mean, 6 to 10 pounders sitting on it.
Wow.
And I mean, at one angle, you could see the basket, you could see the light. Um, and I think that's really helped me find like spots within spots. So now you have different names for different spots on spots. And I think that's really nostalgia fishing. You just got to figure out the really small niches and stuff like that if you just want to run history. But I feel like Clear Lake is one of those places where you can literally win doing anything at any place. I mean, it could have just as easily been won, you know, up on just a random dock with a brush hog. I mean,
Yeah.
this place you can catch them year round, 5 foot of water all the way to 40 foot of water on a swim bait, all the way to a 2 inch worm.
Hmm.
It's the craziest place on the west. It's the craziest place in the world.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Clear Lake, I talked to Jake Arbuckle last interview, and he talked a little bit about this lake, and I posed him the question. So many people, so many circuits, in the past and not even currently, this is Championship Lake. I mean, this is where they come here because this is how it's going to be, and this is they're expecting good weights like that. I don't know if anybody expected what you did, but they really expect it to be quality fish like this over and over and over. Is Clear Lake, in your mind, is it the lake that this is where champions are made, and this is where you need to have, when you're going to have a championship, this is one of the spots you need to really consider?
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
100%. It's big enough to hold the boats. It's got the lodging, and it's got everything. It's the perfect recipe for the best championship lake in the world. I mean, they should have some of the biggest tournaments in the world, like bringing guys from all across the world, fish in that place. Because I mean, who knows what numbers those guys could put up too? I mean, they would fish that lake completely different than a lot of people that live here, fishing off, like you said, nostalgia. They come here with a new idea and catch 40 pounds a day, and there's enough fish in this place to do it. I mean, if you come here in the spring, there is a legit 8 to 10 pounder on every single pole in this lake at one point. It's got the most healthy population of bass, like at least on the West Coast, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really always come down to Clear Lake and the California Delta. I think those are the two big names we have out here. I mean, there's so many more, and the Super 60 is really kind of exploiting some of those new lakes. And next year, even more. It's gonna be crazy where we're traveling to, what we're seeing, the things we're going to, and to see you guys doing it. Talking about Clear Lake and the transition, the fall to winter. When you see that, I mean, I think most people really believe Clear Lake is one of those ones. You were talking about the hitch, you're talking about the shad that's out there, the grass and that sort of thing. Does grass play a role at all when you're talking about that fall to winter, or is it something that you at that point you go to places where there isn't any?
It definitely can. I mean, if you found a grass patch, I mean, it'd be like finding a needle in a haystack. But if you found a grass patch, especially in the north, and it was isolated by itself, I guarantee you somebody, if they would have found it, they would have wanted it. They would have known they want it right away.
Really?
Because I mean, I've seen it up there where there would be one grass patch, and it could be 500 yards offshore, or it could be right on the Tule line, and they're hard to find. It's not it's usually an accident if you find them. And sometimes, I mean, a grass patch the size of a boat can have 50, 60 bass in it.
Wow.
But I just didn't feel like I had enough time with no practice to go search for that needle in a haystack.
Right.
And I know a couple of my buddies that were in the tournament were searching for it. And I know, I don't know. I've never done good up there in the fall.
Right.
Only recently with live scope have I started doing good up there. So I really thought I could go down there, especially with only 30 guys. There's enough spots down south that everybody can kind of fit and rotate. And I figure I could give myself the best opportunity to figure out, what they were doing down there rather than staying up north and trying to find grass. I mean, there is grass down south too.
Right.
But it's usually, honestly, I don't really know. There's one bank that I know had grass on it, and I did not catch them on it. So,
which side were you focusing on? Were you focused on the rattlesnake arm, or were you focused on the park arm?
The redbud side.
Redbud. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of diversity out there, and I was kind of wondering. I mean, I feel like people get caught up with that rattlesnake a little bit, but when you get over to the redbud arm, it is one of those things. There is so much out there, so many different diverse. The water gets deep, the water gets shallow, the water, there's
Yeah.
just so much out there. When you're, I know you're talking about, the points, and you're talking about this. How when you're a guy, and I just want you to kind of talk about somebody going out there and looking at this. How do you how would you break down that portion of the lake? I mean, that lake it's like fishing three different lakes when you go out there. I mean, the whole south end is just ridiculous. North end is ridiculous, and it's hard to figure out. I think the north end's harder to figure out myself than the south, but it's one of those things. Um, but how do you look at that and just say this is how you want to break down Clear Lake? Because I think there's a lot of guys that this is really still a mysterious lake, even though there's some really good fish. And you talk about, oh, there's one on every pole in the spring, and but how would you break this lake down for people? Like what would you be like? Okay, here's what you want to do when you look at it. You've been fishing it a long time now.
Um, I really just look at deep water access. I don't I don't really catch them on rock banks that don't have a deep hole next to them. I think a big majority of the big schools that are down there like to stay within of about a mile of where they can spawn, where they can feed, where they can chill out and suspend under a dock. Um, it's hard to say because I'm not a bass. I
Right.
mean, I really got to be out there, but it's Clear Lake, dude. I mean, they're northern strain bass. You can catch a legit 10 on a square bill in December on this place, or you could catch one on a drop shot in 40 foot of water. So, I mean, if I was going there to break it down, I would try to focus on the 15 to 25 foot and just figure out kind of if they're suspending up off the bottom looking for bait, if they're in ambush points, stuff like that. And I would stay near the deep holes. Most of the deep
Okay.
holes now are on your mapping and stuff like that. I definitely do a lot of side scanning, looking for bait, which is not hard to find at Clear Lake right now. Pretty much the middle of the lake is the bait.
Yeah.
That I thought it was going to be like side scan a couple spots before I even made a cast to see if the bait's there. And there was a couple spots I put my trolling motor down, and I physically could not see the bottom with my live scope because there was so much bait. It was just picking that up, and my screen was just black.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
so
it was crazy how much bait was out there. You could see it from shore for sure.
they they were definitely going from that fall to winter, and they were so lethargic that like you'd burn a crankbait over their boulder, and you wouldn't see them because they're just kind of glowing with the boulder. And then when your crankbait's 10, 15 feet past, they just like, oh, just mosey on towards, just try to follow it a little bit. And then, no, that one got too far away. And they go
Wow.
back to their boulder and sit back up on top of it.
When you talk about bait, one of the things that you said in there was the hitch compared to the shad, compared to, there is so much food in this body of water, first of all. I mean, I was fishing in some little weird slough off in the middle of nowhere, and I was finding tons of baby bluegill, going on. And it
Yeah.
was, and it was one of those things that it was like, wow, there's bluegill here, there's shad here, there's the hitch. When those bass are biting, you were talking about how you were looking for that hitch. Does the hitch, I guess, encourage or draw out the bigger fish? Like if you're seeing hitch in an area, can you expect there to be bigger fish chasing them, or is it just they're there and everything will eat them?
It's usually if you find hitch on like in an area, they eat a swim bait a lot better, and they'll be
Okay.
positioned like in ambush points better. They're not usually roaming around. Like in the summertime, if you find hitch around grass, you can kind of troll and motor around that grass patch, and you'll see, especially at Clear Lake, you'll see if it's clear enough 5 to 6 pounders sitting on the inside the points with like tucked into the grass a little bit. Those are your fish that you catch on like a chatterbait or something like that going by their face because they're ready for something to just come over that grass point, and they're going to eat it as soon as it comes over, no matter what it looks like. But it
Okay.
seems like if the hitch isn't there, they kind of don't really do that with shad here. They don't really set up like that. They kind of just go into a shad. They slowly swim into a shad ball, open their mouth like a whale, and just swallow 20 shad and then turn around and go sit back on their point. So I think it's not necessarily that they eat better because they're searching for the hitch, because they're set up. And I mean, you could throw a pink swim bait if
Right.
if they're set up to eat a hitch and it comes over that boulder at the right time and it does the right little shimmy off that boulder, it's gonna eat it before it even gets a good look at it.
And that was the other thing I was going to ask you is, do you have to go out there and find, well, first of all, are you throwing a hard swim bait? Are you throwing soft swim baits? Are you throwing, Steve Kennedy was throwing a rainbow trout swim bait. So obviously when he was, catching those big weights like that off of and back then, swim baits were a little newer. But, nowadays we've got so many things to break down. What's your favorite and how do you really, what are you looking at? Hard bait, swim bait, you're looking at, what is it that you're breaking down when it comes to swim bait out there for throwing out there trying to, catch fish out there on Clearlake?
It depends on the year. I mean, if you've seen my boat deck the first day, I had literally 40 rods on the deck.
Nice.
Um, Usually the hard swim bait, especially not knowing where they were and where the hitch was and all that, it just takes me too long to sink it down on a point, watch it on live scope, see what follows. Probably not going to eat because it was the wrong angle,
Mhm.
and I just I don't know. The glide bait thing there is just it takes an artist to figure it out, and that I really do think you need to know everything before you even make a cast. If you're going to catch fish after fish, I mean, you can catch a lot of fish, just throwing it over a point here, throwing it over a point here around this rock. But it takes an expert to catch, 5 quality bites a day on a glide bait, and I am not that expert. Um, I love to have it on my deck to find fish, and I had it on my deck for this tournament just to draw schools off of spots, just to see how many were there. I had one of the biggest glide baits I own on the deck, just because I put as much weight on it as I could, just so I could sink it off a point fast and work it up that point, just so I could pull everything, see what's there, see if they're even willing to come up and follow. Um, that way I could come back next, and if I need keepers, I can come back, throw a jig, throw drop shot or something like that, or just keep cranking and rotating the spot, see if it's something I need to keep hitting throughout the day. Because sometimes you'll roll up on a spot and catch a 5-pounder, and then you'll roll up on it the next 4 or 5 days and you won't catch anything. And you caught the one fish that lived there.
Nice.
And so I really just had it on my deck just to see what was there. But if in this tournament I went with like 3 different boot tail swim baits, I had a 8-inch osprey, a 6-inch osprey, and a 5-inch osprey on my deck.
Okay.
All top hooks, and then all different weights for different techniques. But pretty much just that was my jig. I just throw it off of points and slow roll it uphill, and just every time come up to a boulder, just work it like a jig. It didn't really work this week because like I said, the whole lake is
Right.
pretty much just shad, so it was hard for me to find the hitch, and even if I found them, I don't know if they were going to be willing to eat. So the crankbait really quickly turned into, I need to make these fish react, not, let's have this fish follow my swim bait for 50 yards on the bottom and just like put its eyeballs up on it and see if it's real or not.
Yeah,
So I just stuck with the crankbait.
that's I think what you say in there is, and a lot of guys get kind of into that thing. They want to throw those swim baits because they want to catch those great big fish. But a 6XD is not a small bait technically. It is, but it's not, compared to, an 8-inch swim bait or a 6-inch swim bait. But it's still, such a good meal, I think, for these fish out there eating, and they're going to eat, going after it, So that's it's an amazing way to look at it and see it, and it is something different. Are you when you're throwing something like that, are you trying to match the hatch, just looking for a color that's right in it, or do you just not care? It's like, I don't care, pick something up and throw it out there.
At Ford Fairfield, we'll make your ownership experience simple. Our simple price, simple process is designed to save you time by eliminating the back and forth. That means you'll always get our very best highly competitive offer right up front. No games, no gimmicks. Our goal? To provide you with an exceptional experience. Stop by or book your appointment today. Ford Fairfield. Simple price, simple process.
No, I don't care as long as it's not bright white. I hate things that are bright white.
Okay,
I,
that's an
it's
interesting.
just something with it that glow off of a bright white bait. I just can't do it. But I threw 4 or 5 different colors, and had a couple shadows on the deck, translucents, had a couple bluegill colors, crawdad colors. Really didn't seem to matter. It was more the crankbait. I was throwing a 10XD and a 5XD,
Oh,
and it
okay.
really seemed between the days and then the time of day and seeing where they were at. It really didn't matter if the color as far as if you just hit their rock.
Yeah.
Because it definitely seemed like this week they were set up on top of the rocks. They weren't off the sides. They were literally, I call them scouts.
Okay.
There's 5 fish on a boulder, and the ones that you're catching on a crankbait are the ones that are looking out off into the abyss, that are sitting like laying on top of the boulder. And you come over that boulder, and she has no choice but to eat it. And when they eat it like that, they swallow it.
Hmm.
So
Con-
almost every fish I hooked this week had both troubles, like in both corners of the mouth, like T-bone the crankbait.
wow. So they were. I mean, there was just total reaction, like you're saying. They were the ones looking out, waiting for the schools to come through, and one pate goes through, and they've got to eat it.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, that's a great way to look at it, a great way to break it down. I mean, to talk about that, I haven't heard it put that way. That there's a scout fish out there looking. I don't know how they talk to each other, but it's like, all right, here they come, guys. Get ready.
yeah,
And maybe that's what their job is to do, is to catch, get that first one that gets the school kind of ramped up and going, because it's a lake that there's so much in there. Like there's crappie and everything else too. So it's just one of those things that I've to hear the way that you break it down. I mean, you've got almost 20 years of experience fishing on that body of water, and then you're taking a course from your dad's experience too. He's had more than 10 years of experience on there as well. But it's one of those things, it's like, to see the way you guys are breaking it down, to see the way that you look at it is, it's great for everybody here. I think that lake is, as good as it is, it's still a mystery to a lot of people. They go out there, and catching 10 and 15 pounds is a good day, when you're most of the time most tournaments you're going to need 22 to 25 to do really well consistently. So it is
yeah,
it is one of those things that, it's a fun lake. Especially, I personally like it in the summer, when you can throw frogs and things like that. There's
yeah,
some good ways to fish it. Going into this thing, and it's, yeah, I mean, just the way you did it, the way you set up, and the way you brought this thing home, got that championship done. You walked out of there, you've got a bass cap boat that you chose to take the money on, which was, a lot of guys are out there, so that thing is out there for sale now already. What are you running right now? What boat are you in?
hello,
Yeah, what boat are you fishing out of?
hello.
Hello? Uh-oh, did we lose you?
I hear you now.
Yeah, so I'll ask it again so I can read. I'll edit it. So what boat are you running right now? What is it what are you in right now? What's your package going on here?
I got a Ranger Z519 with a 225 Pro XS on it, Mercury Pro XS.
All right, so you're leaving your bass cat. You gave it back to Mark. Mark can go out there and do his deal with it. You're walking out of there with, good chunk of money in your pocket. That's kind of the way that guys, look at these things nowadays. Um, is that still a draw for people right now? Is the boats like that, to get to win a boat?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a milestone, and it's a goal of pretty much every fisherman. I've won one boat with my dad. I've been close a lot. Lot of seconds to fifths. Team tournament fishing with him for a boat, but to win one solo is unbelievable.
That's so cool. Well, at the beginning of the show, I told you the same thing. When I get down to about 10 minutes, I give everybody a little bit of time. Talk about your sponsors. I say this on the stage every time. it takes a lot to get you out there to get doing this, and sponsors are one of the main reasons why we can even play this game anymore. So give them some love. Let everybody out there know how they can find Mason Mcabee, where they can look on your social media. Keep following you, keep pushing you, keep supporting you. And everybody out there, if you're listening right now, give these guys some love. Follow them and learn who they are, because these guys right here, a 23-year-old man, just won his very first great big tournament, man. He took home a monster trophy. He took home over $70,000 package in a boat, and 100% the respect of a lot of his elders up there, because he is now the champion on Clearlake. So take this time, tell everybody who you are, Mason.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Randy Mason Mcabee. And first off, I need to thank all my friends and family, dude. I mean, I have a ton of supporters. I mean, I'm still replying to calls and texts and all that from just the first day, catching 27 the first day. I'm still replying to those texts, and then I got texts coming in saying, second day and then the third day, man, I just have an unbelievable amount of people that follow me and support me, and I just want to thank all them and my mom and my dad for putting up with me going to the tackle store pretty much every day. I have an idea, and then Stealth Sticks. It's a rod company, and I caught all my fish this week on a Stealth Sticks 4 fathoms with my 6XD on it, and really made a difference because I could get 18 to 25 foot out of a 6XD depending on how far of a cast. So with an 8 foot rod, graphite, with a medium fast paper, I could really launch a 6XD without having it tumble, and I could get it to cast like a bullet. And then the other one, and it has a carbon fiber handle. So as soon as I hit the bottom, I could tell exactly what I was on. Rock, went over a tree limb. If I was hitting the dock, I could tell exactly what was going on. And then when I had a lot of fish that just barely bit it on the reel, and it would pretty much just load up into mush. And it wasn't a second thought. I knew it was a fish right away. And second was the Stealth Sticks Little Pete's, a 7-1 medium fast spinning rod. I threw my minnow on it all week, and it was unbelievable. Same thing, carbon fiber handles. So when that fish is swimming with you and it just sucks your minnow in, but there's no thump, it's just swimming with you. I mean, you can tell right away that something's different, and you just get a lot more fish in the boat. Both those rods had P-line on them. The cranking rod I was throwing all week, 12-pound ultimate fluorocarbon, best line in the game. No questions asked. It's very low stretch, so with a crankbait, you can feel everything, and never broke a fish off, and it kept me in the game all week. And then on my spinning rod, Spin X, 8-pound Spin X, and 10-pound ultimate fluorocarbon. And then Team Davies, that was my minnow head, the 60-degree baller, keeps it rocking and rolling pretty good. And then there's a couple other sponsors, and Buck and Hey Dudes, and then SMC, Bakersfield Frame and Axle, and all those people that support me and help me, and just thanks to all you guys.
Yeah, it does. It takes an entire team. You don't get up there and do what you do, all by yourself. There's always people behind you and the support. Everybody, thanks for tuning into this show. Mason, thanks for doing this show, man. I know you're just got back. You went down. This is how you always know that these guys are fishermen. He goes out, wins a championship up there on Clearlake, gets in a truck, drives down and fishes Berryessa today. That's pretty awesome. It's a great way to spend your day right there. You come down there. Were you fishing something or just having fun?
No, just having fun. My dad only gives me so many days off. Got to take them when I get them.
Yeah, so you go out there, now you're back out there fishing. How'd you do out there?
It was good.
Tell me it was 27 pounds. That's all I want to know.
No, I should have went back to Clearlake.
That's another good fishery out there, Berryessa. But he's out there. Yeah, and you get out there, you do this whole thing, man. Couldn't be more proud of being up there to be the guy that helps present everything for you. Talk it all up, man. It's wonderful to see this coming up, and we will hear you talk to you on the next one. I'm sure you'll be back on this again when you win again, because you definitely have the talent to do it. And thank you very much for doing that, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And if you didn't get anything out of this show, go back and listen to it again. Thanks. Share it with everybody out there. And we'll see you on the next show. Thanks for tuning in.